Ms. Christine Chinkin, is the chair of the Jury of Conscience.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everybody who is here. And first, I would like to add my thanks and gratitude, as we've just heard, to everybody who has been involved in the tribunal, who has worked so hard in whatever capacity, and of course, especially to President Fulk for bringing us all together. It's my very great privilege to read on behalf of the Jury of Conscience the final statement of the Jury of Conscience, the Gaza People's Tribunal. We, the undersigned members of the Jury of Conscience, hereby deliver this statement of findings and moral judgment at the final session of the Gaza People's Tribunal. The jury, guided by conscience and informed by international law, does not speak with the authority of states, but when law is silenced by power, conscience must become the final tribunal. The tribunal is not a court of law, so does not purport to determine guilt or liability of any person, organisation, or state. It is a civil society response to the continuing lack of accountability for the commission by Israel of genocide in the Gaza Strip. We believe that genocide must be named and documented, and that impunity feeds continuing violence throughout the globe. Genocide in Gaza is the concern of all humanity. When states are silent, civil society can and must speak out. The tribunal has brought together a wealth of material in a valuable archive, the existence of which provides lasting evidence of the truth of the genocide against the Palestinian people. The jury expresses our solidarity with the rallies, the marches, the encampments, the flotillas, the strikes, and other actions that protest the genocide and states' unwillingness to hold Israel to account. And it offers a counter-narrative to the security narrative Israel and its allies persistently broadcast, and the labelling of Palestinian suffering as a humanitarian disaster. It is not. It is the deliberate commission of the gravest of crimes, imposed with the direst of consequences. We have heard extensive evidence of the crimes committed by Israel, of the causes of the genocide, of the collusion by and complicity of other actors, of the courageous resistance and resilience by Palestinians and by global civil society. We have heard moving personal testimonies of the physical and mental harms wrought by these crimes and the suffering of the Palestinian people. This concluding statement presents our findings based upon this evidence, the legal standards of the Genocide Convention, human rights treaties, the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, and the moral imperatives of natural justice. Above all, this statement is grounded in the unyielding belief that every human life has equal worth. No state or ideology has the right to destroy an entire people. Our statement builds upon the testimonies, oral and written, the expert evidence, and the research and analytical papers carried out by many people over the past months. It reiterates and endorses the Sarajevo Declaration adopted in May 2025. First, Israel's crimes. The jury condemns the ongoing genocide and the crimes listed below. We believe these crimes and their impact on the Palestinian people should be separately named to understand the holistic nature of the genocide, its dehumanization of the people, its sadistic character, and its temporality. These crimes did not commence in October 2023, and they will not end with the ceasefire. Deaths and severe physical harm will continue. The physical and psychological trauma of the surviving population will be transmitted through the generations. The jury condemns the commission of the following additional crimes: starvation and famine through the deliberate denial of food, water, and systematic destruction of the entire food system. Domicide. Domicide is more than the international mass destruction of residential properties and their infrastructure, electricity, water, sanitation. A home is about love, life, a repository of memories, hopes, and aspirations. Its destruction causes displacement, trauma, the disintegration of communities, and profound cultural loss. Ecocide. Ecocide describes a particular kind of warfare based on ruination of land fertility, air quality, sources of food and water, catastrophic environmental damage that destroys the capacity to survive after the bombing ceases. The deliberate destruction and targeting of the healthcare system infrastructure, equipment, and personnel. These have been systematic for decades and have become almost total. The most important issue for physical and mental health is the Israeli occupation and the dehumanization of the population. Reprocide, the intentional and systematic targeting of Palestinian reproductive care through the prevention of births, eliminating future lives, and the ability to reproduce life safely. Scholasticide. Scholasticide is the genocide of knowledge, the destruction of Palestine's intellectual future through the killing, silencing, and displacing a generation of students and teachers, obliterations of schools and universities, destroying dreams and aspirations. Attacks on journalists. Genocide documentation is carried out by Palestinian journalists, and they and their families are targeted. Silencing these journalists is instrumental to the concealment of the genocide, and more journalists have been killed than in any other conflict. Torture, sexual violence, disappearances, gender-based violence in detention, at checkpoints, in house searches, in displacement, and elsewhere. Politicide. Politicide is the targeted assassination and kidnapping of political and cultural leaders, representatives, activists, and the destruction of civic institutions. The jury finds a coherent and consistent pattern of exterminatory violence in the intentional and targeted destruction of homes, water supplies, schools, hospitals, clinics, universities, cultural and religious institutions, agricultural land, natural ecosystems. The weaponization of hunger, denial of medical care, forced displacement are not collateral damages of war. They are instruments of collective punishment of an entire population and of genocide. They are not justified by any claim of military objectives. Complicity and collusion. The jury finds Western governments, particularly the United States and others, complicit in, and in some cases colluding with, Israel's commission of genocide through provision of diplomatic cover, weapons, weapon parts, intelligence, military assistance and training, and continuing economic relations. Such actions constitute moral failure and breach of their legal duty to prevent genocide and to cooperate to end violation of a peremptory norm of international law, genocide, and the Palestinian right to self-determination. Silence and inaction in the face of genocide are not an option and are other forms of complicity. The jury finds a range of non-state actors to be complicit in genocide. Biased media reporting in the West on Palestine and underreporting of Israeli crimes conform to the economic and political interests of the ruling elites and their allies. Academic institutions, through their investments, support Israel. Staff and student endorsements of Palestine are silenced or disciplined. Israel survives through militarization. Global supply chains that sustain the genocide through weapons, banks, technology, transportation, and other multinational corporations. The high technology sector sustains the machinery of genocide by manipulating contents through algorithms, allowing Israel to watch and plan every airstrike and assassination. Companies that sell cloud capacity to Israel provide the computer power for genocide. The jury considers that the political economy of genocide is the highest form of hyper-imperialism of the 21st century. The jury finds the current global order, structured by power hierarchies and economic dependencies, to have revealed its incapacity to prevent or punish atrocity crimes when committed by the powerful or their allies. The United Nations, paralyzed by the veto and political selectivity, has abdicated its foundational responsibility to, quote, to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. The jury, however, commends the United Nations Human Rights Council special procedures, including the Commission of Inquiry, and especially the steadfastness of the Special Rapporteur of the Occupied Palestinian Territories, Francesca Albanese, for their affirmation of genocide. Conclusions. The jury affirms that Israel is perpetrating an ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza, within and enabled by a broader settler colonial apartheid regime rooted in the supremacist ideology of Zionism. This campaign is inseparable from over a century-long project targeting Palestinians across all of Palestine and in exile. The root causes of genocide lie in a racist, supremacist ideology, Zionism, that underpins a system aiming to dispossess, dominate, and erase Palestinians, supported by an oppressive neocolonial power structure led by the United States and its allies, shielded by international complicity, including from many Arab and Muslim governments. The jury considers the genocide in Gaza to have several exceptional characteristics. It is perpetuated on a captive population in a tiny, closed territory where Israel controls all entries and exits. It is systematic and carried out with the most advanced technology. Despite Israel's attempts to prevent reporting, it is highly visible in real time. There has been resort to international judicial bodies, the International Court of Justice by South Africa, the request for an advisory opinion by the United Nations General Assembly with respect to UNRWA, the arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court. Yet these have been ignored with impunity by Israel, and other states have made little real process, minimal sanctions have been imposed. Indeed, it is the International Criminal Court personnel and NGOs assisting the court that have been sanctioned by the United States. So our recommendations. First, ending impunity and ensuring accountability, to hold all those responsible, politically, military, economically, and ideologically, perpetrators, supporters, enablers, and complicit parties, to hold them fully accountable by every lawful means and to the fullest extent of the law, to suspend Israel from international organizations and institutions, particularly the United Nations and its affiliates, to activate UN General Assembly Resolution 377, Uniting for Peace resolution, so the General Assembly can adopt collective measures to mandate a protective force for the Palestinian territories and stop the genocide in Gaza, given the United Nations Security Council's failure to act due to successive US vetoes. Resisting and dismantling oppressive structures. The jury reaffirms the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, to choose their modes of resistance to achieve liberation, freedom, and independence. The jury endorses a global, rights-based strategy to dismantle Zionist structures, identify and map the Zionist regime's sources of power and enabling pillars. The jury calls for building a worldwide movement that weakens, isolates, and dismantles each source through coordinated political, legal, economic, academic, cultural, technological, and social action. To achieve this objective, two main tasks are paramount. First, steadfastness and non-displacement. Palestinians in Gaza, the West Bank, including Jerusalem, Palestinian communities inside the 1948 lines must remain rooted in their land. There must be no further forced displacement of Palestinians and Palestinians in exile, particularly refugees across the region. Preventing displacement, sustaining steadfastness are essential to maintain the struggle. Second, comprehensive global confrontation. Confront the Zionist movement and regime globally in every sphere, political and diplomatic, legal and human rights, economic and commercial, media, cultural, intellectual, academic, educational, industrial, technological and scientific, arts, tourism, sports. This mobilization centers peoples, movements, parties, unions, civil society organizations, and individuals, so that solidarity becomes power, normalization is resisted, and the Zionist project is besieged on all fronts. The jury affirms that the struggle is with Zionism as a racist, supremacist, settler colonial enterprise, not with Jews or Judaism. The strategic horizon is a single rights-based political order grounded in equality, decolonization, restitution, and the unfettered right of return. Only this course can end the ongoing genocide and open a path to just and durable peace for all who live in Palestine and beyond. We issue this statement in the name of justice, dignity, and peace, and in remembrance of all those who have perished in Gaza and throughout Palestine. Silence is not neutral. Silence is complicity. Neutrality is to surrender to evil. In solidarity with the people of Gaza and in memory of all victims of genocide, we speak as the jury of conscience, comprising Professor Sami Al-Arian at the end, myself, Christine Chinkin, Dr. Gada Kami, author Kenizi Murad, Professor Chandra Musavir, and Professor Biljana Vankovska. I thank very much the members of my fellow members of the jury, and thank you.